Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mini Scroll, the daily internet culture podcast bringing you the biggest stories from social media, the creator economy, and the digital space every Monday through Thursday. I'm your host, Lauren Meisner, the founder of the youth digital media brand, Centennial World. Welcome back to Mini Scroll, everyone. And if you're watching on YouTube, welcome to a different background. I was thinking that this lighting in this room might be a little bit better than in my bedroom. There's not as much natural lighting in this room because it's in the basement. So I think it's possible that there might be more consistency, although I'm not sure what the sound is going to be like. We'll see. So I have two big stories for you guys today. And before I get into them, I did want to say, and this is not something that I've had like feedback on or got any comments about or whatever, but I was just thinking back to the Sedona Live story that I reported on yesterday, and I feel like I did not report on it with the proper sensitivity that it deserved. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. I feel like doing a daily podcast, sometimes I get a bit desensitized to what I'm reporting on, and I'm reporting on it from like a trend perspective or like a viral perspective sometimes instead of like a human perspective. And I don't know, just like editing that segment and thinking back to it after it was published, I was like, I could have done better there. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Okay, on to the stories for today. So I have two big stories for you guys, like I said. And the first one is we need to talk about Alissa Violet and her response video to Tana Mongeau and Brooke Schofield that was published yesterday. Okay, so we know that recently Alissa got in some drama with Tana and Brooke because Alissa was defending Jason Nash. Basically, Tana is like always making these TikToks, like dragging Jason Nash for begging for money on TikTok. And Alissa responded to one of them and basically called like Tana and Brooke mean girls. And then Tana and Brooke responded on the canceled podcast, and Tana wrote like a poem to Alissa, and it was so savage. And I just want to clarify, I'm laughing because all of this is so stupid. I feel like sometimes this is just part of like my journey right now, where I was like feeling self-conscious about how I reported on that story yesterday, but I was also reflecting on the fact that like when I report on stories, like I will sometimes smile or laugh or whatever, and it's not because I don't take what's happening seriously. I mean, sometimes that is the truth, but a lot of times just like what is happening online, unless there are some like really major serious allegations, like a lot of it is just like petty. And I think that's part of it, is we just have to take everything with like a grain of salt that, you know, I report on here, but that like happens online. Some stuff is just stupid and petty. Actually, a lot of stuff is just stupid and petty. Anyways, okay, so they made this like poem on Canceled, and they talked a lot of shit basically about Alissa. And then of course, when Brooke's racist tweets went everywhere over the last couple of weeks, people were like, oh my God, what a time to be Clinton Kane and Alissa Violet. So Alissa has responded. She made a video. She began the video by mentioning the amount of hate that she has been receiving before acknowledging that she has been reading and seeing it all. Quote, I've received thousands of comments, DMs, TikToks, tags, etc., pretty much telling me how awful of a human being I am, and believe me, I'm seeing it all, and I have been. She then said that how the situation unfolded was, quote, completely my own doing, 100% my fault. She then shared her own side of the story, explaining that she had been watching Tana post videos criticizing creators for weeks and felt like the canceled podcast was simply a platform for, quote, negative gossip. She addressed an alleged incident involving Tana's assistant Paige and her friend Tessa Brooks. So for those who are unfamiliar, Paige had introduced herself to Tessa, even though they had met before, and Tessa reportedly took offense and swore at her. So in her video, Alissa denies that this ever happened, claiming that, quote, the whole story was fabricated for views. She also stated that she got confirmation from multiple creators, including Brooke. So as for why Alissa chose to defend Jason Nash in that one TikTok that like blew everything up, she explains that she felt as if Tana was bullying him and that it didn't sit right with her. She also claims her comments in the original TikTok were misconstrued as shady when this wasn't the case. She said, I meant no shade with that. So after I posted that video, I woke up and realized that I messed up tremendously. I wasn't aware that this creator had a past with Tana. And by this creator, she means Jason Nash, because as we know, there was like all these gross, weird jokes that went on during the Vlog Squad days when Trisha Paytas was dating Jason Nash. And there would always be all these like jokes about how like they should have a threesome with Tana. And the Vlog Squad was always just like filming with Tana and making inappropriate jokes. And Jason was obviously the oldest of the Vlog Squad. So people were just kind of like, this is not the hill to die on Alissa when she did defend Jason Nash. So while Alissa went on to apologize for not doing her research and jumping the gun, she did double down on her original intentions. Alissa also addressed Tana's claims that she sought advice from her about starting an OnlyFans. She was basically like, not all of us can make $1 million, I don't know, showing our butt on OnlyFans or whatever. Like, some of us have to do different types of work. And people kind of took that as like slut shaming. But then also Tana, I guess, addressed that comment, saying that like that's kind of ironic because Alissa approached me asking for advice on how to do OnlyFans. So in response, Alissa shared screenshots of their conversation showing that it was actually Tana who encouraged her to start an OnlyFans, contradicting the narrative that Alissa had approached Tana for advice. While attempting to handle the situation offline, Alissa mentioned that she had called Brooke, describing the call as quite productive, and then she wanted to express her disbelief when she, quote, completely 180 flip-flopped on her next podcast episode. They proceed to bully me, write a poem about me, share stories, and come to the conclusion that I'm the meanest girl in LA. She maintained that she never had a problem with Tana even after, quote, you hooked up with my ex, when you tried to continue hooking up with my ex after we broke up, or you married my other ex on camera after I came out about my abuse. This is really true. So I think the first ex she's talking about is FaZe Banks, and the second one is obviously Jake Paul. So that's how I was introduced to Alissa Violet, was because she was dating Jake Paul. And obviously we know Tana and Jake Paul had this like quote unquote like marriage, obviously fake, but like, you know, a marriage, something happened on camera. They had like a relationship, and Alissa did go public with what she experienced with Jake Paul, and it was really horrific. As for the mean girl allegations, she claims that Brooke and Tana are completely overlooking and underestimating how much the internet has changed since Alissa rose to viral fame. She notes that 2016 through 2018 was the peak clout chasing era of YouTube, where she was constantly being used by men, women, and various business people, all while being in an extremely toxic relationship. Quote, I genuinely thought every single person in the world was fake, phony, and out to get me, and that they were going to take advantage of me once again. So yes, I have historically been a bitch, and that was on purpose. I wanted to be so unapproachable and scary that nobody would ever fuck me over again. I actually do believe this. I think the men that Alissa, I think she also dated Rice Gum. Okay, just fact check that. She did not date Rice Gum, but she did do a song with him. But yeah, I'm not surprised at all that she would have felt this way. I think the era of kind of YouTube that she's talking about, and like the crew that she was around, the people that she was surrounded by were, I mean, just from an outsider's perspective, did seem incredibly toxic. I think there was a lot of like toxic masculinity that she was around, and yeah, I just totally get it. But she did clarify that she doesn't want to push some sort of victim narrative, but claims that this context is important. Nevertheless, she did go on to apologize to Amari, who claimed that she was dismissive and rude to him because he's, quote, not important. I just think I automatically saw you as Tana's best friend, so you were guilty by association because I associate Tana with drama, deceitfulness, and lies. I'm sorry, that is just like such a savage description. To conclude the video, she said the whole situation reminded her of why she decided to take a few years off from YouTube. Quote, I understand everybody wants the tea on what's going on in celebrity culture, specifically in Los Angeles, but when you have to make up a story, fabricate an encounter, spread misinformation, and slander someone while presenting falsehoods as fact, it can be so damaging and hurtful to someone's mental health, not to mention their personal brand that they've worked so hard to build. So just be real. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of what she said is fair, and I appreciate that she made a pretty solid address. Like, she addressed all points of like her initial video. She made some apologies. She shared why she felt the way she did. I mean, I don't think anyone that has followed Alissa, even peripherally like me, I don't think it would come as a surprise that she feels this kind of way about that crew in LA. Like, she spoke out about Jake Paul in such a public way. He was so famous. I mean, he's still so famous, but like he was top of like YouTube game at that time, and that would have been really difficult to do. And she has taken a step back. Like, it's pretty obvious that she is like not trying to be in the public eye in the same way that she once was. And I think it's obvious that LA has jaded her in one way or another. And I think it would for a lot of people, especially that group of people that she's explaining. Okay, and the last story that I have for you guys is that Sophia La Corte has dragged Halley Kate in a new story time about dating Halley's boyfriend. Okay, so this is more niche New York City TikToker news. Every once in a while we have a story like this and people are like, who are these people? But you know, honestly, I'm going to argue that these people are pretty relevant and I'm going to keep reporting on them. But for anyone who is like, who are these people? Halley Kate is a 24-year-old TikToker based in New York City. She went viral a few times this year, actually. So first she got punched in the face by a random man, or like over the last year, not like in 2024 necessarily. But first she got punched in the face by a random man on the street, and she made that video that went absolutely viral where she was like crying right after it happened while she was walking down the street. And that shone a bunch of light on, oh my God, now I'm like so self-conscious. Shined when I said, what did I say? Struck. That highlighted an ongoing issue for women in New York City who came forward and were like, this exact thing has happened to me. So that video went viral. And then she also recently went viral when she bought a house in like the Hamptons area. And everyone was like losing their minds that a really famous TikToker who's 24 could afford to buy a house in the Hamptons and also rent an apartment in New York City. And I guess part of the context there is like, we do know how much her rent is. We know that her rent is around $7,000, or was around $7,000 a month, because, which I will get into in a minute, she went through this big breakup and she was talking about stuff like while she was vlogging her breakup stuff, and someone sent her money for her rent and she showed like her rent transaction. Everyone was like, what the hell? Sophia La Corte is also a popular TikTok creator. She has over 800,000 followers on the app and she is an aspiring actress. So I guess Sophia and Halley aren't really friends, but they definitely run in similar New York City circles and have similar business acquaintances and things like that. Okay, so at the end of last year, there was this weird like TikTok drama that went down between the two of them that was basically started by fans. And I think we did report on this in Viral News. So Halley was dating this man named Reed for about a year, and he broke up with her in November out of the blue. He was basically like, you're just not the one. And she did not expect this at all. She was really devastated. And so she started vlogging her breakup. And this was also when she started getting like even more traction. She already had a lot of followers and some fame and stuff, but this was like the big one for her. And this was the time when she showed her rent. Basically, after Reed broke up with Halley, he was spotted by followers on a date with Sophia. So a Reddit post on the r/NYC influencer snark subreddit read, quote, "The two were at Ludlow Hotel cuddled up on a couch enjoying cocktails last night. I don't have a picture, but it was them. Yes, Sophia and Halley were at the same influencer dinner on Thursday, and this is why I was shocked to see the two together on what appeared to be a date." The two as in Sophia and Reed. Halley also offered some confirmation on the situation in her TikTok comments at the time. She wrote, "No, this is the tea. She was standing with me as I texted my ex and went through my following and DM'd him asking him on a date. Gross on both of them." She also described Sophia as, quote, "the worst person I've ever met in my life. Imagine standing next to me while I'm texting my ex, asking how he is doing and DMing him the same night." That sent a wave of hate to Sophia, obviously. And then Halley eventually asked her followers to stop sending hate to Sophia. And she addressed the situation on her podcast, saying that she didn't necessarily have a problem with them dating because obviously they were all single. But her main issue was that Sophia was allegedly with Halley when she reached out to Reed, and that they were on a date in a very public space. She said, quote, "She definitely knew it was very possible for them to get recognized. So that's just what upset me. I feel there was intent to have it get back to me." Okay, so since then, that was in December 2023, Halley and Reed have actually gotten back together. And Halley has announced that they signed a lease together in New York City in September. So this has now raised concerns for fans because basically like a lot of her followers feel like Reed doesn't really deserve her, or like he still kind of doesn't seem like he likes her very much. And I'm sure that that is clouded by her breakup saga that she vlogged and what she told us about how he broke up with her and why he broke up with her. So I'm sure there's some clouded judgment there. But regardless, people point to the fact that it seems like he does not really like her very much. And this was really heightened when she and her bestie Jazz posted a podcast episode with their partners recently. And Reed was just like really quiet. He seemed really disengaged from her. And the podcast caused so much backlash because of his behavior that they actually ended up deleting the episode. So now in the wake of this, Sophia has released this 3-part series where she talks about the experience of quote unquote being canceled by Halley for going on a date with Reed while they were both single. But yeah, Sophia's videos are definitely kind of shady. They paint Halley in this kind of like crazy ex-girlfriend light, and they paint Reed and Sophia in this way where it's like they have this crazy connection and he's just like such a great guy. And, you know, he liked Sophia so much. He treated her so well.
It's really rare that you get a good first date. I remember on the first date, we were about to leave the bar, so we both went to the restroom, and he turned around and grabbed me and kissed me, and I remember, like, I had butterflies like never before. He was super talkative, super fun, and so sweet, and very masculine. Everything about him was wonderful. At the end of the date, he put me in an Uber home, and then I went to bed, and I was just smiling ear to ear. I wake up in the morning, and I'm so excited to look at my phone because I know that this man is going to text me. Like, I know we both enjoyed the date. But instead, I look at my phone and I see a message from a random number. The message said, "Hi, this is Haley. I'm getting DMs that you were on a date with my ex last night, LOL. I don't want to be weird, but is that true? Just want to know so I can tell people to stop commenting that." So finally, the person I want to texts me, and he comes over and brings me coffee before I have to go film. This man and I are just hanging out and chilling until I have to go to work, and his phone starts going crazy. I see the name, and it's her. I get in my Uber, and I look at my phone one more time, and guess what? She started posting about me.
So Halley has made her own response, and she posted on TikTok just like basically a block of text as she was brushing her hair, just letting y'all know I'm a real person, just trying my best at life. And I try to be as authentic about that as possible. I get on this app every day to make people smile. I used to come on and be so excited to check my comments, and now I dread opening my phone and reading lies, rumors, and hate. And I hate that because this app has given me everything good in my life, and I'm so grateful for it and all of you. But I feel defeated sometimes if I'm being honest. I love all of you who support me so much, and I really try to just ignore the noise because there are so many amazing people on here. We just have to rise above. Okay, so I think this is kind of the stance that I took when all of this stuff happened in December. Like, they're 23, 24. When I was that age, I was being a little shit too. Like, I was running around single, dating tons of guys, having fun, partying. Like, I can't really comment on their behavior and like even how they're reacting to this drama, because I can't even imagine, like, thinking back to how I acted at that age, and like just the world is at your fingertips. Like, for me at least, I just left university. You're finally making some like quote unquote like real money because you have your first full-time job probably, and you know, like, it's just a different time. If you're newly single, you're living out on your own, it's like so exciting. You're not at like university housing anymore and things like that. So I can't even imagine how I would have been acting if I had all this money, all this internet fame, and like millions of people looking in on my life and either validating me or hating on me, you know? Like, I can't even imagine what that experience would have been like when I think back to how I was already like such a disaster at that age regardless. So I'm not going to comment on like how they are reacting to this situation or behaving in this situation. I did want to comment though on Halley's response because it kind of reminds me of what we talked about with Chris Olsen last week. And I follow Halley. I really like Halley. And that is a controversial opinion, which is crazy because she, in my opinion, I mean, as far as I've seen, is very neutral. I don't think she is controversial at all, but I don't know if I have seen a creator who has done so little that is like in the realm of actually being problematic get so much constant hate online. I wouldn't say it's all hate. I think a lot of it is like snark, but it is like every day. Like, she is posted about on snark Reddits every single day. Everything she posts, everything she does, there's like screenshots of her lips, there's screenshots of her boobs, like people just like dissecting what she looks like, dissecting, you know, what she's written in her captions, how she acts online. It's so wild to me. And I don't know if I'm just going to eat my words and some of you guys are going to come out and be like, didn't you know she did X, Y, Z and that's why everyone hates her? Maybe. As far as I know, she is just like living her life. And basically it's a very similar situation to Chris Olsen, which is she is considered annoying. Like, people find her annoying, and therefore they hate on her. And so yes, I do think that Sophia released this video series at interesting timing. I think it was strategic because people are talking about Halley and Reed, but I also like completely get what she's saying. She's like, I'm just trying to live my life, and it would be so conflicting where the thing, the people, the platform, the job that gave you everything, like literally has changed your life, is also the thing that is absolutely destroying your life. And I was thinking about recently how we talk a lot on this podcast about how creators will often perceive constructive criticism or sometimes like negative feedback as hate when it's not, but eventually you kind of get, I guess, like desensitized to the comments, and therefore anything that's like remotely critical or negative, it's just easier for your brain to categorize that as hate. And I was thinking about how I think that's probably just how it goes across the board. Like, I think there has to be some element of self-preservation. Even if you are like the most beloved creator, the amount of feedback that big creators get, even if it's positive, is absolutely abnormal. It would be so overwhelming. And I don't even know if you would realize that necessarily, but it would impact your mental health so much. You know how they say like you're not supposed to know the opinions of what like millions of people think about you. You should actually not really know what anybody thinks about you unless somebody has like a personal relationship with you and then they come to you with a problem or something like that. But like knowing how hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people feel about you at any given time is not normal. And even if it is positive, there would just be some like subconscious element of like self-preservation where your brain would just have to like shut down. So I think it can be easier for creators to think in like a binary when it comes to the feedback that they get and what their audience wants from them, which I think is what we kind of see with Halley and what we see with Chris, where it's like people are not necessarily hating on them for like quote unquote bad reasons or like super valid reasons. And it's not even necessarily hate. It's like snark. I mean, what happened to Chris and the leaked like intimate photos was obviously abuse, but regardless, like what he was talking about, where he's like, I come on this app and like people just hate on me for being like annoying and I get harassed for being annoying. I think a lot of the people that make these comments or write on snark Reddits, like they would consider it not hate, like they would consider it discourse and snark, but it would be almost impossible to look at all the different types of feedback that you get from millions of people as a big creator and be able to actually categorize that properly. So I do think that is why we see so many creators take all types of constructive criticism and just label it as hate. But when it comes to Halley Kate, I feel really bad for her. She does get, from what I have seen, some of the most criticism ever for just like existing and posting online, at least in this current moment. And, you know, we see that sometimes with like Jaclyn Hill and stuff. Like there are these creators who like anything they post, they get like a ton of criticism. But usually it's after they've had a big scandal or two where people have kind of seen the mask drop and they have a really negative experience with them. And I don't think we've had that with Halley. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've really had that with her. So I find it really interesting that she triggers so many people. Anyways, guys, that's my analysis on that. Thank you so much for listening to Mini Scroll. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. I love you guys, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.